Thank you. Let me share my screen. Hopefully now my screen is visible. Okay. Okay. So I'll just wait around till I get a go ahead from one of my fellow instructors. Dikshant.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me know if you're live. Okay.
Oh yeah, just a second. Okay, it's YouTube live acting.
I'm sorry.
We are active on live on YouTube. We can start.
Great. So hey guys, we are back. Today we are going to do basics of Python 2. This is Aryan. Yeah, so the thing here is that we're going to cover a lot. We're going to be a bit faster depending on how since it happened last time, since we had the safe quiz and you guys said that faster is good, so we'll do that. There is some stuff
Aryan,
like
please
start
recording before going on.
yeah, sure. Today we are going to do basics of sorry about that. This is Aryan. Start recording. Yeah. So the thing here is that okay, and I hope everybody knows this thing that there's going to be a safe quiz again today. Slido link is given and have posted separately. Please check the general channel for it. Okay.
Yeah, just a second. We are editing the Slido link, so just wait for a second.
Okay, fine. I'll take a 2-minute pause for you guys. I should close this and I should close this. Okay, and I hope everybody knows this thing that there's going to be a safe quiz again today. Slido link is given and have posted separately. Please check the general channel for it. Okay.
Yeah, just a second. We are editing the Slido link, so just wait for a second.
Okay, I'll take a 2-minute pause for you guys. A little bit of patience, people. You are getting the link. Patience, people. You are getting the link.
Yeah, Aryan, we can start now.
Okay. Let's see. Just make this lecture 2A. Okay. Let's start. Hey everyone, Aryan here. Back to our second lecture. So let's start with bitwise operators. We're not going to get into them. I just wanted to tell you that the bitwise operators exist the same way in C++. They all work fine, exactly the same way. There is one link. Please open that if you want to know more. Yeah. Now relational operators, these operators compare two or more variables. What they do is they're simply those equal to, greater than equal to, less than equal to, not equal to, these ones. I'll just copy paste and show it to you once. Oops. Just should have copy pasted all of that. Hey everyone, Aryan here. Back to our second. True, false, true. Same thing here. You guys already know what it is. Now you know the name. Yeah. So that's how you work with relational operators. Logical operators, we have three: and, or, and not. Now remember the double ampersand, double pipe. This is called a pipe, by the way. And the exclamation mark. You guys used it in C++ this way. Now in Python, you'll use and, or, and not, the words. How to do that is you have two conditions or two Boolean expressions, you can just simply combine them. I'll just show you the output for this. This is one condition, this is the other, and this is conjugated with an AND. One condition, other conjugated with an OR, and this is an operator. Now, how it works in Python, it's almost exactly like the NOT. So I'll just show you these two first. This is giving you true because both of these are true, and only one of these is true. This one is true, this is false, but this is an OR. And yeah, for NOT, you can just you can have a space, you can put it into brackets. Yeah. Okay, so that's how you do that, and it's exactly the way you did double ampersand, double pipe, or exclamation mark. Okay, nothing's changed. Now, funny a meme on the fact that everybody uses double ampersand except for Python, right? Now we'll go to relational chaining. What is relational chaining? It is basically when you have multiple relations chained with each other without a conjugation. Now what did I call a conjugation? I called and or a conjugation, right? So what is relational chaining? When you don't have this, so how do you chain it? You chain it using the operand here. Okay, so you have num greater than 4. Now 4 less than equal to num, right? So what happened here is it took these three, it made one condition, it took these three, made another condition, and it added an and automatically. So this thing, it's the same as writing this. Okay, so here num is greater than 4 and 4 less than equal to num. So you can just make this one statement by putting num greater than 4 less than equal to num. Okay, same behavior. How many ever you have, it just adds all of them. So if you have 4, 1, 2, 3 relations, 4 operands, it'll take this relation, and it'll take this relation separately, check the Boolean values, and them all, and then get the ultimate result. To show you this, to just show you the, yeah, true, false, true, true, false, true. It's exactly the same, whatever you do. Okay. Now we're going to membership operator. What is the membership operator? It basically uses this. There's this thing called in operator. So it checks if something is inside a container. Now, what is a container? We've already told you that a container is any of string, list, tuple, set, and dictionary. Now about set, we will talk later in this class. You have not yet learned it. That's okay. It's really simple. It just you will know it later in the class. Even if you don't cover it, it's so easy that you can Google it and find out in a second. Okay, that's
sorry,
how easy.
Aryan, can you zoom your left in a bit? People aren't able to see it properly.
Oh, my bad. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Okay. So about is this fine?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Just make it really big. Okay. So about membership operator, I'll just go over it again. So there's this operator called in. The in operator checks if something is inside a container. Okay. Now what is a container? I already told you: string, list, tuple, set, dictionary. Yeah. It returns a Boolean. So you can use it as a as in any place where you need like a Boolean value, right? It's I'll just quickly demonstrate this. Yeah. Now you can use in with lists and tuples. So it's pretty similar. We've already talked about how similar lists and tuples are. So you can just say you define a list, you define a tuple, right? Define a list, you define a tuple. So it defines one number list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, one tuple, 1, 5, 9. So what this does is print 9 and number list. If 9, it asks the question, is 9 in the number list? And the answer is no. So it will return a false. Same thing with this, print 9 and tuple. Is 9 in the tuple? It is. So it's a true, right? And let's go on to strings. What happens in strings is we use in for substrings. Now, what are substrings? They are contiguous sequences of characters. Okay. Why? What do I mean by contiguous? It means one after the other, right? So let's just quickly do this. Yeah. So the test string is she believed, and then you have to print he lied. Is it in the test string? It's not, you've been misled, because it is not a substring. Okay. And he B, is that in the test string? It is. So yeah, I mean, you print that, you get a true. Okay. I already executed this. I executed again, false and true. Yeah. So on to dictionaries. Now dictionaries, it's a small special case. So why is there a special case? Because dictionary has two values, right? It has a key and it has a value, and then it has a key, then it has a key, then it has a value, right? This is what a dictionary looks like. Something like this. Yeah. So what's the problem here? The problem is that there are two values. So what does the dictionary choose for in? It simply it simply chooses the keys. Okay. So what it does is so let's do this. There is this whole dictionary of attendees. Oops. That is some really terrible stuff. Anyway, this is this huge list of attendees. What I've done here is we've added some roll numbers, and the roll number has name, the amount of lectures. Oops, okay. I got disturbed. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'll get back to this. So we have this attendees dictionary. It has a string, and then it has this a list, and each string is a roll number. The list is the name, comma, the number of lectures attended in percentage, and this is the marks I got in a quiz. Okay, so this is my name. I attended 90% of the lectures, and I somehow got 7 marks. Yeah, and then there is Shubham, whose roll number is given, and then he attended 80% and he got full, right? And then there is Vedant, he attended 50%, he got a 9. Yeah, some people are relating really hard right now. So yeah, so what happens of this dictionary is that you try to check if 16D170004 is in attendees, it will give you true. Okay, but if you try to check is Aryan in attendees, it'll give you false, because it will only check the keys. Okay, it will not check any of the values. Now let's try this thing. Okay, now let's try to search the name Aryan in attendees dot values. If you remember, there was this function that we had defined dot values. Yeah, and dot values returns a dict values list. I mean, it's a wrapper, but it's really just a list, and you check. It's false. Why is it false? Because the value is this. The entire list is the value. Okay. If you want to see what it looks like, you're supposed to check it this way. What is attendees.values? Attendees.values is this list. And if you want to do attendees.values 0, oops, oh man, I'll have to make this a list before I start accessing it. Yeah, so if you do this, what happens is you'll get this entire value. So this entire list is a value. So you cannot just search for, say, Aryan here. Okay, what you have to search for is this entire list. So let's check if this gives us the one output that we're looking for. Enter, and it's true, because this entire thing is part of the values list, right? This is the value, it's part of it. Okay, so that's how you use in with dictionaries. Okay, obviously you can use attendees dot keys and check this thing dot keys. Will give you true. It's the same output as this one. So the thing is, what we will suggest is you should use this kind of a notation. Why? Because it's more clear. Whoever's reading the code will look at attendees.keys and will know attendees is a dictionary. It has some keys. We are looking for this in attendees.keys. Okay, so that's how you write good code. You try to explain it to somebody else in your own mind, and then you realize, oh, okay, this is where it could go wrong, and then you fix it. Okay, that's how you work with that. Now I'll see if I can decrease the size by 1 font, because it's slightly inconvenient. I'm sorry. Can you guys see? Dikshan, can you let me know if this is visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
Cool. Okay, thanks for letting me know. Let's go. So using not in. So what is not in? Not in is basically the same as, I mean, exactly the opposite of in. You have to check if something is not in a, well, list, dictionary, tuple, whatever. Okay, let's just demonstrate it quickly. You have a number list. Is 9 not in the number list? That's true, so it'll output true, right? It was really easy, and I think and I hope everybody followed up until now. Okay, we covered in, we covered some operators, bitwise, relational, logical may and, or, and not. In relational chaining, we covered how things are changed, and we can simply, instead of using and, we can just chain them. And we used in with a lot of different containers. Okay, and also not in, right? Now let's go on to the next part. This is what we call a block of code. Now I want to explain what a block of code is, but you already know what it is, right? In C++, we used to use these the open bracket and close bracket of the curly braces thing that we used to use all the time. So why did we use that? We wanted to define, say, a function or a class or something, right? Python, it is the same. We want to define a block of code. It is defined by this sign. Okay, whenever you have this sign, the next line and all consecutive lines are in blocks of code. Okay, and the same block of code. Okay, so there are something special. So when you have a block of code, the next line and all subsequent lines in the same block of code should have the same indentation. Okay, now this is all stuff that I'm telling you just like without showing you any examples, because I'm getting into the examples right now. Okay, and by the way, it is your choice that different blocks can be indented with different amounts of indentation, but the problem there is it looks really bad, and as a programmer your job is to make your code look beautiful. Okay, so good programmers use the same amount of indentation in the entire project. Okay, now whatever I'm talking about, I'll show you an examples through the if block. So you guys know the if construct, right? So to get an if block, you can simply follow these instructions. They're really dumbed down, but this is what it looks like. Okay, there's if, there's a space, conditional test, there is a colon, you press enter, you add some amount of indentation, which is at least one character. Okay, at least one character. Now, traditionally people use 4. Google suggests that you should use 4 characters, should use 2 characters in indentation. I'm sorry, Google suggests that you should use 2 characters for indentation. And what we do is we just decide whatever we want to and we just stick to it. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll use 2 here. Okay, so if conditional test, do something. Now show you a quick example. So what is a conditional test? It is anything that returns a Boolean value, right? So oops, now I'll just, yeah. So Jupyter kind of accepts this. Oh my god, something wonky that Python does. But yeah, so Jupyter will not give you a good color here unless you put 4. The reason being that Jupyter suggests you should do 4 spaces. Now that's okay. If you decide 2 spaces, you do 2 spaces. Okay. Yeah, percent, it still works. It still works, but you have to be consistent throughout your project. Okay, for the for better reading code. All right. So back to the if block. What do we have in the if block? We have age equal to 45. If age is greater than 18, then you're eligible to vote. So we're just printing that. Nice and easy. You have an if, you have a space, then you have a condition. Okay, something that returns a Boolean value. Then you have a colon, and then you press enter. Right, it's automatically indented. Usually when you're writing code somewhere, it's automatically indented by the text editor or whatever you're using. If it's an advanced text editor, by advanced I mean it's a cool text editor that does this stuff on its own. It's sort of intelligent. Okay, if you're using a really if you're using Notepad, this won't happen. It's not that intelligent. Okay, but if you're using Jupyter, for example, I press enter, it automatically indents. And this was 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. Okay, automatically. So you can just do that. You can just press enter and automatically indent, and you can just type your code. Okay, I'll just run it again. It's giving me you're eligible to vote. That's the if block. Now, if else block, again same as C++, except that instead of having, say, the curly braces, we have this, right? So what is this? It defines a new block. So what we did here is if age greater than equal to 18, 18, and you print nothing, and then you print, sorry, you type else, and you then type this, right? You need to go back to the same indentation that if was in. Okay, press enter, automatically indents. You print still nothing, right? Because you have nothing to do here, right? So nothing, because age was greater than 80, right? And the thing here, the thing here to really look out for is this colon. It's important, but people keep getting it wrong. Okay, and the thing is that just you will forget it. Okay, you will run into some error, and I'll just show you which error comes when you forget it. Okay, let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. Copy this. Invalid syntax. You'll get something like this. Now I didn't remember, that's why I just showed you directly. Yeah, but the moment you add this here, it works. So this thing is important, but more importantly, you're going to forget it at some point. So just know what to do when it says invalid syntax at the end of this. Okay. Yeah. Now back to our lecture, going on with multiple indentations in the same program. So multiple indentations, what are they? They are basically the thing that I talked to you about already. So what did I talk to you about? I said that you can have different indentations in different blocks. Okay. So now what was I talking about? It was basically this, that when I added this, I added a new block here. Okay. And when I add a new block here, that means that I have to put the same amount of indentation throughout this block, right? Print you are greater than equal to 18. Who do you want to vote for? Yeah, let's, okay, maybe we can just have this. And since this is a tab and this is a space, what I'll do is I'll just copy the space over the tab. If you guys can see this sign, it's actually a sign that you have used a tab here. Okay, so when I had this thing here, I had one tab here and I had equal amount of spaces here. So that was a problem. Okay, because if you run this, it will give you an error. Does not match any outer indent level. It had a problem because, well, this was a tab, this was a space. If I do this, it should work. Yeah, see, it worked. Why did it work? It worked because this and this are equally, they are aligned. They have equal number of the same kind of white space character. Okay, that is important. Okay, so as you could see, the tab and the spaces, they have the same size, but they're still not the same amount of white space character. Okay, so you need to have equal amount of spaces or equal amount of tabs, but you need to have one of them, right? And let's get back to this example. Now you can have more indentations. By that I meant this. It still works. You have much more indentation here than here, but this is a new block that was defined with this, right? Sorry, this is a new block defined by this colon character. So since a colon character defines a new block, it doesn't matter how many indentations you have here. What matters is here you should have the same amount of indentation. Okay, this is what matters. I'll just make it 17. It works. I just wanted to show you that. Okay. Now indentation error, it does come. It comes when you have different amount of indentations. So let's do this. Oops. Yeah. So what if you did this unexpected indent? Okay, you'll have some sort of error. Okay, some sort of error. That is going to be a problem all the time. So you're going to have to be more mindful of what you do, right? Yeah. Now back to if. Now we are on if else statements. It's simply like if else. I'm not going to do this very uh, much in detail. You can see the basic syntax. You can just add an elif now. Instead of using else if, you just add elif. You have the same way. You have the same condition. You can just go on and do whatever you want here, right? I'll just show it to you once. Then 45 and then age equal to 100, right? You shall not pass. Cool. This is, I'll just make 50. Yeah. So yeah, it's just printing this. Much quicker. Okay. Now there's this meme. Can avoid that. Let's go to conditional expressions. So what are conditional expressions? This is this thing called ternary operator. You may or may not have heard of it. You should have heard of it. It's in C++. Okay. It's a shorthand for writing an if else statement. Okay. So how do you write the if else? You write if condition, press enter, you type do something else, do something else. Yeah. So this is the way you write in here. Okay. Oops. Yeah, this is how you write here. Okay. And once you do this, I won't execute it. That's what it'll do. Okay, fine. So this is how you write an if else block. Now, how do you make a ternary operator? You use, say, let's say you want to assign something through this if else block. Okay, so what if you want to assign something? Say a is equal to 100. Okay, I'll just copy this. I'll do this. If b is equal to 100, a equal to 50, else a equal to 10. Yeah, and what I'll do is I'll just add b equal to 100, a equal to none. Okay, I'll execute this. Okay, now what happens here is you have if b equal to 100, a equal to 50, else a equal to 10. Now you print a, you get 50 because a b is equal to 100. How do you do this in a way that is much shorter and better to look at? So you can use this kind of stuff. Okay. Now I'll just copy this part because this is the syntax. I want to show you through the syntax. Okay. Right. So this is the syntax. What happens is answer is equal to something if the condition is true, else it is equal to something else. Now, how do I copy this into this? Okay, so this is my condition, right? So I'll just copy this condition here. Okay, now answer if true. What is the answer if it's true? Answer is 50. Okay, so I put 50 here. Okay, and I need to assign it to a, so I'll put this here. So a is equal to 50 if b is equal to 100. Else a is equal to what? A is equal to 10. So you just do this. Now you check a. It's 50. Yeah. So it was really easy. It was really short and it was really quick. Okay. And they're pretty nice. They're fine to look at. So it doesn't cause problems in code readability as long as you're not using really long conditions or really long assignments. Okay. Okay. Never ever sacrifice code readability over shorter code. Okay. Always code readability is first. Right. Okay. So now that we've done conditions, let's pause for questions. Anybody has any questions? Nikshant?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we can start.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. So I was just waiting for him to mute. So let's go to loops. Now, what are loops? You would remember this. There's while loop and for loop, right? C++, in lots of other languages too, if you know other languages, right? While loop is while something is true. the block inside will execute, right? So I've shown something like, well, that is some wrong code. Sorry about that. Yeah, this is some Python code, right? So I'll just show it to you. Okay. So why did I do this? I'll tell you what this program is. There's this program called FizzBuzz. Now FizzBuzz program is such that you have to print the number for you have to either print fizz if there is any number that is, say, divisible by 3. Oops, this is something's going wrong today. Sorry about that. Okay, if some number is divisible by 3, you print fizz. Some number is divisible by 5, you print buzz. If some number is divisible by both 3 and 5, you print fizz buzz. And if it's neither, you print this. Okay, this code is wrong. Okay, now while it might work on some places, but I'll just be more careful. So now, and oops, and old habits die hard. I make this mistake till today. I still use double and Python rejects, right? So oops, it's printing something strange. Never mind. Anyway, the point of this entire example was this: you can use a while loop. Okay, we'll fix this program later, but yeah, sure, you can use a while loop. Nice and easy. It's too easy. All right, let's go. So for loop, this is where things get different. Okay, this is where things start mattering. I'll just remove this example. Right, this was anyway wrong. Anyway, for loop. So this is something very different, and I want you guys to pay real good attention here. Okay, so in for loop, what happens is in Python, for loops work only on iterables. Now, what is an iterable? Iterable is anything of list, tuple, dictionary, set. You know, I've given an entire list here. Set, strings, everything's an iterable. Okay, you can do anything here. Oops, I did not expect that. Huge amount of lag. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Let's get down to for. Yeah. So everything's an iterable. Now, what happens in iterable is you need to write for loop in this way. Here. So you have to write for something in something else. Okay. And then this is a block. So you define a for block using this colon. You press enter, automatically indents, and you start typing whatever code you want to do. Okay, do something else, do something more, whatever, right? So what happens here is this thing should be an iterable. Okay, so basically this for loop is more like a for. Oops, it's more like a for in loop. Okay, it's more like that. Oops, sorry about that. Keeps pressing. Yeah. Okay. So what happens here is you need an iterable to iterate over in a for loop. Now, obviously, some people will complain that, well, you can't always have a tuple or a dictionary or a list or a set everywhere. Yeah. What if you just want to iterate over numbers? Well, obviously, you're still covered. Python gives you this thing called range. Okay. So this is one way to write one range code. You just write for I in range, you write a number and you print. Okay, so what does this do? Range function gives you a sequence of numbers in an iterable, and this sequence starts from 0. It will end before 10. Okay, and it will have a step of 1. Press enter, shift enter, and it will execute. What executes is it gives you squares of numbers from 0 to 9. Why? Because 9 is the last number which is less than 10. Okay, after 9, when it comes to 10, it will look at this number and it will say no more, I'm going out. Okay, that's how range works. 3 ways to call range. Okay, so the 3 ways is actually 2 ways, but we'll tell you later why it's actually 2 ways. But okay, for now there are 3 ways to call range. You do range stop. So you do numbers starting at 0, ending before stop, with step equal to 1. Okay, so this is, so let's just print only numbers in the range. Print I 0 to 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, range is that. Now what if you want to do start comma stop? So what if you do range 5 comma 10? Yeah, it starts at 5 but it is lesser than 10 still. Okay, so that's how you can call range again. Okay, it's not going to give you sorry, it's not going to give you any number which is equal to stop. I mean, it's not going to print the equal to stop number, but it will print everything before that. Okay, and it will always include the start, right? So range 0 comma 10 is the same as doing range 10. All right, now go to range start stop step. It's simple as 0, 10, step is 2. Okay, so what it's doing here is taking the first number and taking a step of 2. 0 plus equal to 2 is 2, so it will take 2 and then it goes to 4, 6, 8, same way. Okay, so this is how you do even numbers. Now very quick application of this is you just go to say 3. Okay, and you want all multiples of 3 less than 100. Okay, I write start, I write stop, I write 3 here. What does it print? It prints all the multiples of 3 less than 100 because you start at 3, you end at 99 because 99 is less than 100 and it takes a step of 3. So okay, it just keeps taking that step and keeps printing those numbers. All right. I hope this is clear. Now on to enumerate. Enumerate is another iterable because what if this doesn't, quench your thirst? What do you want enumerate for? Enumerate is, well, it's this cool keyword. What it does is that it takes an iterable. It's a let's say you have a list. Okay, it takes a list and when you say enumerate the list, it will give you it will split that list into its objects, the singleton objects. Say list is equal, sorry, L is equal to 1, 2, 1, 3, 6. Okay, so now it will split L into 1, 3, and 6. Then what it will do is for each one, it will make it a tuple. Now what will make a tuple of? It will make a tuple of number comma list item, then number comma list item. Such tuples it will make and it will recreate a new list. Okay, now I am saying all of this. It's easier to just show it. Enumerate L. Oops, I'll just print. I'll just make this a list and I'll print enumerate L. What happened here? You have this class which is an iterable. Okay, and then you have these tuples. The tuple has 0, 1, 2 in the left side. The first number in the tuple is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. The second number in the tuple are the values. Okay, list item 0, list item 1, list item 2. Okay, so it's sort of list item 0. That's the first. Okay, and then I do this again. List item 1. Okay, and so on. Okay, that's what it does. Enumerate is useful basically everywhere, especially I mean, it's just very useful because you can just get the member and the number together. It's quick. You also have enumerate start. So instead of say you want to what if you want to, oops, you just do enumerate x and enumerate x comma start. Okay, so what if you just want to say enumerate, what if you do L comma 2, right? It starts the number from 2. Simple as that. It starts the numbering from 2. It does the same thing again. As easy as that. Okay, nothing to see here. I'll just have this quick example and I'll just take this, show it to you. Yeah, what is it doing? When you have enumerate grocery, this is an enumerate class, which when you print, you get this type. Okay, and when you print this, you get the class enumerate. Okay, and then you have to convert it to a list. So when you convert it to a list, it gives you the list of tuples. Okay, and then when you convert it to a list with this start. So it converts it to a list and the start is 10. So 10, 11, 12. Okay. It's nothing huge. Oops. Lots of editing or range enumerate, or you can just use the members directly. Now we need to talk about something called Pythonic code. So what is Pythonic code? This is the difference between Pythonic and non-Pythonic code. So I'll just tell you what I mean by Pythonic code. By Pythonic code, I mean simply this thing that it is meant to be this way in Python. Okay, that's what I mean by Pythonic code. As simple as that. Okay. Now you would have done this a lot in C++. Okay, so if you have the range thing available, okay, it's giving you just a minute, it's giving you these numbers 0, 1, 2, 3. So naturally you will go on to do, you know, L0, L1, L2, because I mean you do it all the time. Did it all the time in C++. Okay, I'm not saying it won't work. Okay, I'll just show it to you working. I'm not saying it won't work. It works nice and well, but it's not a good way to do it in Python. Now, why is it not a good way? Because Python already provides you something like this. Okay, it's a better way to go about it. It's faster too. Okay, because of Python's implementation. So what are you doing here? You're doing for member in members. What is members? Members is a list. Okay, so you press Control Enter, you will get each of these members, right? It's not that difficult. It's just that it's something new, right? Because you have to do, you have to use in this time. You have to have an iterable. You can iterate over anything. You just have to have a, you know, some variable here. Okay, and this variable is set each time the loop runs, and after this variable is set, you can use this. Okay, so that's what we're doing here, right? I hope this is also clear. Now, same story. This time it's about enumerate. Okay, so what if you want to print this 0 James, 1 Kirk, 2 Lobert, 3 Lars, right? Python also provides you a way to do this. How does it provide you a way to do this? It uses enumerate, right? We've been doing this for a long time. Okay, so instead of, now you did not know how to, you know, iterate through this. Okay, I'm just showing you that you already know what enumerate is. It makes tuples. Now how do you take stuff from a tuple? You just say I comma member in enumerate. So what this does is it gives you the exact same output. Why? Because I is the first member of each tuple, member is the second member of each tuple, and it will just simply keep printing the first member. Then this is the F string that we introduced last time. Yeah, so it just does the exact same job. It's very simple and you can easily use it, and this is how you're supposed to use it. Okay, Python's internal implementation helps this become faster. That's why you use this. Now I feel like, since this is, well, this is not properly being displayed, obviously it's a little difficult to follow along, but I hope this is enough. Okay, now on to iterating through a list. Okay, we've already done that. Okay, it's these two methods that we showed you, this one and this one. Okay, bad example is this, good example is this. Okay, this is range 3. You can just do range len of magicians, still same output, but I'm just showing you, I'm just telling you this. Okay, same output, but this is not what you want to do. You want to do this one. Okay, now iterating through a dictionary. Well, when you iterate, it automatically iterates over keys. You remember when we use the in keyword, right? So we use the in keyword straight up here, right? Oh, sorry. Yeah, here, print this and this. So when you did this, it looked only at the keys. Okay, again, now when we're in a for loop, okay, when you have for in, it will still only look at the keys. So when you do, oops, Now it doesn't have a, this thing is not defined. So what I'll do is just do this, look, right? F string of key joined in something. Okay. Now I don't know what is, maybe joined in 1, right? This is one way to write it. Okay. But what if you want to go over everything, the key and the value? Well, everything, there are only two things. So there's a key and a value. How do you do that? Simple, you just say key comma value. Okay. And since you can't do it in debus, because debus is actually just giving you dot keys, you do dot items, right? So when you do this, instead of debus, obviously we have attendees, this. See, you just print a value and you got the value. Here we had to do attendees key. Here you just got the value. Now, what I suggest personally is, well, not personally, I guess this is the more Pythonic way to do it. Just do this. Okay. You don't have to go through keys. This is, well, this is valid, but the thing is, this is not clear to me. Okay. It doesn't tell me anything that this is a dictionary, or it doesn't tell me much. What this does is, what the second one does is, it tells me there are two values, and then there is this dot items function, which tells me that debus is some sort of dictionary. So this really is a good signal to somebody who's, somebody who's reading your code. So again, asking questions. That's how you improve your code. Okay, cool. Now, iteration's done. Any questions? Are people confused?
What's the answer to the question? We can go.
Sorry?
Yeah, maybe we'll move on.
Okay. Okay, we'll go on. All right. Okay. Now break. What's a break? Break is simply the same thing that you used to do in C++. Okay, you can break out of a loop. Use this. Show it to you. One thing that you might have not noticed in say in C++ is that when you do a break, it only breaks out of one loop. Okay, so by the way, before I go on that, this is how you nest a if in a for, or something else inside a for. Okay, so I slyly did not speak of that, but I think I should. Why I should? Because, well, people start getting confused. After one indentation, should this be more indentations ahead? Answer is yes. Yeah, it should be more indentations ahead. And that's what's done here. Okay, this is the way to write code. Write something, then you can say a is equal to 100, b is equal to 5. Then you start writing if a is equal to 100, print give me $100. Okay, something like this. Okay, so I'm just saying that this is how you write code in the script, because there is a for. Now there is an if, so you have to add more indent for the next one. Okay, and there is another if, say if val not equal to r, then you print r. I'm just doing something random, doesn't make sense at all. I remove the break statement here. Okay, so I'm going inside this, so I have to indent. I'm going inside this, so I have to indent more. So you just keep indenting. Okay, that's how it works. That's how Python works. Okay. So obviously, when you have two huge indentations, say 1, 2, 3, 4, it's a bit extra. You can just make it 2 indentations and be happier, or you can just use 4 indentations and forget that I ever said this. Okay, it doesn't have to change anything that you think about. Okay? It's everybody's personal preference. I say you should use 2. Well, in Jupyter you have to use 4 because it comes very easily. Okay, and in Jupyter you don't have to use tab, you have to use spaces. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just use the space because Jupyter automatically indents to space. Okay, we've been talking about this. I feel like I've talked a lot about this now. I hope you guys understand. Okay, now how to exit a loop? You just use this break. Oops, remove the break. Yeah, so it just breaks when val comes to I. Yeah, simple, right? Now like break we have continue. How do you use continue? Exactly the same way. No rocket science. If val is equal to I, continue. Yeah, when it came to I, it just continued, right? And if you don't remember what continue did, you should be reading about this. Okay, we won't cover it. It's the same as C++. That's all I'm going to tell you. Okay. It just continues with the loop, forgets everything ahead of the current statement. That's what it is. Okay. Pass statement. This is something new. I'll just go over it quickly. What is the pass statement? Pass statement is, it's a placeholder statement. It does nothing. Okay, it's just meant to be there because once you define a block, say for val in attendees dot keys. Okay, sorry, attendees dot keys. Okay, now if I want to define this block, but right now I can't think of what I want to write here. I'll just put pass. Okay, what does pass do? Pass is just a placeholder statement. It does nothing. It just ignores it. Okay, it's almost as if it's a comment without the features of the comment. Only difference is you need to have at least one executable statement inside every block. So once you define this block, you need to have something like a pass. Okay, cool. Now, okay, I'm just gonna pause. Okay, I think we just had questions. That's fine. Okay, I hope you guys are following, and I hope this is not too quick. I hope this is just slightly quick. Yeah. Okay. Just give you a breather. 2252. I'll give you a breather to 2253. There's 52. If you have questions, please ask on Slido. Okay, seems like there's nothing. 2253, let's go. User input, right? There's a lot of nuance in user input. Today we're just going to introduce it. There is nothing here much. Okay, there is this thing called input method. Okay, just input with brackets. What it does is it just simply reads a string from the output. Okay, it reads I'll just show you something. Right, this is better understood when you look at the example. And so what will show it'll print this statement. Okay, printed this statement, then it'll ask you enter a string. So I'm going to type some string, say hello, right? You typed it. Okay, now if I want to print the input string, input string, right? It got me hello. So simply I got whatever I wanted through this, then I just printed. Now obviously in Jupyter you have this thing, you can just type whatever you want here. You can press space, right? So let's say hello, I want a samosa, right? Because I want a samosa. Print it. Hello, I want a samosa, right? So it's just plain simple input. What if if you want to do something special using input from the user, you can do it using this, right? And if you want to do some numbers, okay, you take them as strings. Okay, you still take them as strings. Okay, you say 100. No, sorry, wait, I'll just call this a number instead. Enter a number and say 1000. Okay, so it is still a string, by the way. Okay, but you can convert it. Input num is equal to int 100. This is how you change a string into a number. Okay, you would say int, you put brackets and you put the string inside. Oh, sorry, I messed up. Put this. Okay, and I'll show you what input num is. It's 1000, and then I'll just show you the type, because why not? int, right? So that's not a problem. Okay, and don't worry guys, I know it's already 22:55. We are going to be continuing the session till 23:10 and then you're going to have a quiz. Okay, cool. Okay, so anybody, any questions? Any questions, Nikshant?
No. Anything question?
Anything? If you guys have anything, just let me know. Okay, interrupt me. Okay, on to functions. Wow, we've covered a lot today. Okay, we've covered loops, we've covered conditions, we've covered if-else-if, and we've also covered, you know, iterables and all of that stuff. So congrats to you. You know a lot in Python now. You're almost ready to make really good programs. Okay, functions. So what are functions? You already know what's a function. They're made to make, well, they're just supposed to do one task or something. Yeah, that's what a function is. If you guys remember, if you don't, this is what it was. How do you define a function? I took this by learnbyexample.org. Awesome website. You can check it out later. Okay, but this is how you define a function in Python. You put a def. Okay, def. You put a space. You put a name. Let's say fun. Open brackets. Arguments. Okay, so what are my arguments? My arguments I want to put A, B, C as my arguments. You define a block using this character. You press enter. You have a block. Okay, now D is equal to A plus B, A plus B into C, and then you just return D, right? This is a function. Really simple, right? All of this is indented equally. So how much is का indentation? जो 4 spaces है, it's exactly the same here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, you have a return here. Here you don't have a return value. Okay, you just have a def keyword instead of a return value, right? And you just say fun 1, 2, 3. It's supposed to be 7, I guess. Yeah, so it's 7, right? It was super easy. This is how you do you use your define function. Okay, now you know too much. You already know enough to like write really good programs. Okay, I'm just showing you stuff now. Now functions concept is similar. No return type. I already told you that. There is a def keyword instead. We use this. Already told you that. Now parameters of the functions don't need data types. I guess this should be underlined. Yeah. Parameters of function don't need data types. You used to write int a, int b. That's wrong. Now you don't need to. You just do this. Okay. Works. Now I'll go through some examples just because I guess you guys are smart enough to understand. Okay. Right. So I wanted to print the lyrics of rags to riches, right? So I have a function already for that. I just do def rags to riches and then you print must type of forever be a beggar, and then the other one is this. Okay, then I print rags to riches. It works. Must type forever be a beggar whose golden dreams will not come true. Okay. Now one thing that I skipped over is this thing. It's this line, right? So you remember this was how you define a multi-line string and also how you define a comment. Well, now this comment is called a docstring. Now what's a docstring? Docstring, well, it's this thing where if somebody wants documentation of rags to riches, okay, and there is a way to get that documentation. Once somebody wants that, they will get output of this string, the first string that is under rags to riches. Okay, so what is the first thing under rags to riches? This function prints the lyrics of the Tony Bennett song. Okay, so whoever they look for documentation of rags to riches, they'll get this. Yeah.
To demonstrate this docstring, can you go inside the function call as if you were typing an argument of rags to riches? No, the function call at the bottom of the cell.
Yeah.
And press Shift Tab. From inside.
Here.
It will show the docstring.
So cool. So now I did not remember that shortcut, but yeah, this is how you demonstrate the docstring. You click on this, you click Shift Tab, you get you double click Shift Tab, then this expands and then you get this docstring out. Okay, magic, right? Just get this entire line there, and obviously it's multi-line, so you can just add more lines here. Tony Bennett was a famous dude. Let's see what happens here, right? I do rags to riches, shift tab. Tony Bennett was a famous dude. Wow, give me that same thing, right? That easy. So you're learning a lot. This thing does this kind of docstring is actually used in actual libraries, actual Python code, written by industry grade people. So this is not something that's used by just you and me. This is used all over the world right now, right? This is the way to do it. Okay. Now passing values. Simple. Just add the parameter list. I showed it to you here very quickly. I showed it to you once again. Start a parameter list. Here I have only line number. Do this. These are the lyrics of Let It Be. I guess I was just in a musical mood, and I'll just do this. Just do this. Terrible code in terms of formatting because of tabs and spaces all over the place. Yeah, but what we did here is we defined Let It Be. We are taking one parameter / argument. More on that later. Okay, this function takes one parameter, okay, one argument. I'm sorry. Okay, and it's copied into this parameter line number, and then it simply prints the lyric of that line number. So we've zero indexed it, so it will print. And in my arrow darkness, she is standing right in front of me. Okay, so it takes the third line of the lyrics 0, 1, 2, and it prints it. Okay, now you can obviously pass multiple values very easily. Instead of doing just one, just doing 2. Now what are we doing here? We wanted to print Hey Jude's 0, 1, 2, third line. Okay, so we have, say, these lyrics saved in one list, these lyrics saved in another list. We have a dictionary. We've made Hey Jude the key. This is the list is the value. Same, there is a key and a value. Then you print it, right? And when you print it, and when you call it, this thing will get executed. Okay, you do Hey Jude in 2. This goes to this, or it executes everything, goes to this lyric dictionary song. So it takes lyric dictionary, goes to this song. So it went here, and then it went to line number. So it took this list. Oops, sorry. It takes this list and prints 0, 1, 2. Right? Remember, 0, 1, 2. So remember to let her into your heart. Okay. Nice and easy. Everything you've been doing ever since you started coding, just the same thing. You don't have to worry about it. If you didn't catch what I went over here, it's very easy. When you read the notes, you'll get it. It's not difficult at all. Okay. Now something different. Passing values with keyword arguments. What is this? Keyword arguments are basically, say we have song and line number. Okay. Now, well, it's easy to get confused, right? Which one is first? Is the song first or is the line number first? Now, how do I avoid that confusion? Okay, I know this exact name, line underscore number. I know this. I know this exact name, song, right? I know the label given to the variable in this function. So how do I avoid getting it wrong? I just do line number equal to 2, comma song equal to Hey Jude, right? So this should give me exactly the same thing as this. Right? I copy, I paste, I just show it to you, right? Exact same output. Why did it give the same output? It took song equal to Hey Jude, so it found the variable song. It's here, set it to Hey Jude. Line number equal to 2, it found the line number variable. Here it set it equal to 2 and just ran the function normally, right? Exactly the same thing happened here. Only difference is I could pass it in any order. Doesn't matter what order it is. All right. So you can just pass name value pairs. This is what we call a name value pair. Okay. And you can just assign. It's not that difficult. Now, assigning default values, you just put an equal to. I guess you guys can read this. It's not so very different from what you did in C++, right? And well, if you can just pass hey Jude, it will work. If I pass song equal to hey Jude, it will still work. If I pass let it be comma 1, it will copy over song and it will copy over the line number. So this will be different, right? Maybe just to demonstrate this last one, I can show it to you. I just say, okay, oops, it seems that this thing got locked, right? Show it to you. Yeah. Yeah, so just focus on the last line, right? Speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Which line is that? That is 0, 1. This is the line that we're talking about. And when you do let it be comma 1, it just takes this song, it takes 1, so it takes this one and it prints it. So this thing got overwritten, right? That's all I wanted to show you here. This thing got overwritten. If this was 0, it would have printed. When I find myself in trans trouble, Mother Mary comes to me. Okay, that's the first one. All right, nothing crazy. Right? So when you use default values, any parameter with the default value needs to be listed after all the parameters that don't have default values. Okay, so if I have, say, the same function, okay, and I have song number equal to 2, okay, and album, right? Now this is wrong. This is not a function that you can define for only one reason, okay? Because album here, it does not have a default value. So this must come here. Okay, and then if you just define this and you say pass, because I don't want to write anything here. I don't want to think about the logic to enter, this works. But if I have album here, non-default argument follows default argument. Okay, syntax error, simple, right? Return statement, I did it in the beginning. Okay, one very simple return statement. Only one awesome thing to remember here. Well, a couple of awesome things to remember here, which I'll go over. Okay, this is a statement, right? Instead of printing, you can return this, remove the brackets, right? Okay, and then let's just call it. I guess I have the same example. Can do this, right? Same output, but only difference is this time it's returning this this value. So let's just say a is equal to this. You can do print a, right? So a is set now, okay, and that's how you return. You just do return, you put a space and you just type whatever you want to return. Now you can use return inconsistently. It's not recommended. It works. It's not recommended. But if you run into really bad code, then, well, if you're unlucky enough, then this is what happens. Okay, so for sure, if you go over this now, if you go over this, what happens? Let's just say a is equal to lyric getter print a, b is equal to lyric getter print b. So quickly, let's go over this example. If around the world and comma 20, right? So I want to print the 20th world in this song called Around the World. Okay, now Around the World is such a song where all the lines are around the world. Okay, it's by Daft Punk. All the lines are around the world. Cool. Now when you, so what I've done here is, if song is equal to around the world, just return this around the world, right? Just trying to be funny, but it's just so that you understand what I'm doing here. Now if it's let it be, it picks out the exact line from let it be. Now this is hey Jude. Now this hey Jude is not really defined here. So what happens? Okay, so can you guess what happens here? Oops, I already showed you the answer, but well, can you guess? Okay, so what happens here is it gives you a none type. What you've learned about none type. Okay, that's all it gives you. Now, I hope this is clear. If it's not clear, then let's we can try to do it over Slido. If your Slido doubts are not answered, you can go to Teams and you can just go there. Okay, you can ask your doubts in the doubts channel later. Don't worry, you'll get the notes right after the session very soon. Don't worry about it. Just read through it, you'll understand. It's that simple. Okay. Now, I'll quickly go over this before we have the quiz. One special note about passing a list. If you pass a list, it is used with the reference. So when you pass by reference, well, you know what happens when you pass by reference, right? You can edit the actual copy, right? So when you pass a list in a function, it's the same as writing. Well, I'll show it to you an example, right? So if I gave you L, this list, okay, it's a list of albums of the Arctic Monkeys. Now I say remove first album. Okay, so this actually can remove the real album. Now this has gone Ori. I'll just fix it here. Yeah, I have no idea why it went Ori, but yeah. Oopsie daisy. Okay, X not in the list, right? So this is what caused a problem. Yeah. Okay. So what happened here? I defined 4 albums. Okay, and well, you know what caused a problem here? Simple problem here was, well, we had the list, so it did not copy the list. It just sent a reference, and once it sent the reference and you try to remove this, shit. Now we just print L and it's gone, right? So you have to be really careful, because I have made this mistake 100 times or million times. Same thing happens every time, right? Yeah, if you forget that a list can be passed by reference, well, now you should remember. Okay, you'll keep coming back to this lecture maybe just to understand this, but yeah, it's a simple concept. List is passed by reference and it can cause a problem. Okay, passing an arbitrary number of arguments, you can do that. We're not going to show it to you. You can use these links. Okay, use args or kw args, happens. Okay, now quiz. Okay, guys, we are at the quiz. I planned this till 23:10. We are at 23:12. So we are in time. I know you guys have some quiz in the morning tomorrow, but I found out about it really late. Okay, so Shubham, can you go over the quiz details?
Yeah. So everyone get your devices ready. We'll quickly have the quiz. Before we start the quiz, please note that there was some confusion regarding Slido links. So the correct Slido link has been posted in the chat. So if your questions are not answered, it is probably because you were on the wrong Slido link. Okay. I will start the quiz in a minute. I'll share the password. The quiz goes on for 10 minutes, but 5 minutes should be more than enough. After 5 to 6 minutes, we'll continue with the session. For the rest of the session, it'll only take 15 to 20 minutes. There's not a lot of content, but the content is really important. So I would recommend that you stay back after the quiz. Okay. Yeah, we have some advanced content. It's not like basics. Like I know this is basics of Python 2, but this is some syntax that you encounter a lot, but it's not very basic. But that's why I'm still covering it, because you will encounter it a lot if you read someone else's code.
Okay, thank you, Shubham. So can we have the password, please?
Yes, I'm posting the password on the page now.
Perfect. Just make this bigger. How's that? Oops, sorry. Yeah. I think something happened. Yeah, this is the password, guys. It's the same password will be posted in the chat on Teams. Okay, in case you are not able to see this, but I hope you're able to see this. Right? Just check the chat. I don't want to remove what's on the screen.
So Aryan, most people have submitted the quiz. So I'll just share my screen. I've still put the
For sure.
password in the chat if some people are still lagging behind. But we'll continue
Please.
with the session.
Yeah. So I'll just stop sharing.
Can you guys see my screen?
I can see your screen, Shubham. I'll just see if anybody can give me a confirmation.
Yeah, it is good.
Cool.
Can you guys see me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Awesome.
great. So I shall begin. Let's just okay, most of you are done. So we'll start with list comprehensions. So list comprehensions are something that I used a lot in Python. So whenever you write Pythonic code, list comprehensions are generally what you use to define lists. So if you read any other developer's code or someone who has been coding in Python for a while, you'll come across list comprehensions a lot. Okay, and they're not very intuitive to understand. So we'll just go over them a little bit slowly. So we had some complaints from last time that like splitting the screen makes everything look a little bit smaller. So we are trying a different approach. So do give your feedback whether you would prefer something like this. So I'll be only using my Jupyter notebook to present, and it'll be something like this. Okay. So for list comprehensions, to understand them, let us take an example. So what we need is a square is like a list of squares of the first 10 natural numbers. Okay. So that's from 1 to 10. We want to make sure. So just know what happened here. Yeah. So we want to make sure that our code is the most Pythonic way to do this. So what do? We come up with this. Okay. We define squares as an empty list. We say we just learned what for loops are. So I use a for loop in range. I append the square and then I print the square and I get the list. This is what I wanted. But is this the best way you could do this? Is there some other way you can do this without writing so much code? So let us find out if there is some Python magic that can improve this even further. So what can improve this is something called list comprehensions. So for list comprehensions, you can do the exact same thing that we did on last slide by using this code. So what this does is, you can see that everything is enclosed in a square bracket. So that tells Python whatever is inside this is supposed to be a list. Then what Python says is, you have to iterate using this for value in range this. So for every value in range 1 to 11. So what is range 1 to 11? Let us see. So, okay, range 1 to 11. Now range is an iterator. So to look at it as a list, you just pass it in the list constructor, and that is just 1 to 10. So it tells Python for every value in 1 to 10, what you have to add in this list is whatever is here to the left of this iterator. So what is this? Value square. So you have to add value square for every value in range 1 to 11. That is for every number in 1 to 10, you add the square of that value. So I just do this and then that's it. I have the exact same list. Okay, so this is how you use list comprehensions. But that's not all you can do. You'll think that this can only make very simple lists. What if I want to do something complex? What if I want to check some conditions? So let us look at the next case. Suppose we have this list of fruits. We have a lot of fruits here. What we want is all the fruits which have the letter A in it. So we don't want the fruits which do not contain A. So what do? The best way we can think of is we just define another empty list, a second empty list. Then for every fruit in fruits, we check if A is in this fruit. If it is in this fruit, we will append it in the new list. If it's not, then we completely skip over it and go to the next iteration. So what does this do? This gives us the required fruit, and we want it in uppercase. Okay, so we can also do the fruit dot upper as we learned in the last lecture, and we get apple, banana, and mango. All of these have A's. We see that cherry and kiwi do not have A's. Okay, but is there a better way to do this? Maybe you could use list comprehensions for this, but how? So what you would do is similar thing. You tell Python that for every fruit in fruits, you should add fruit dot upper in your list, but only if A is in fruit. Okay. So what you basically do is let me just do this. Okay. So this is value to add. Value to add for I in some iterable if condition. Okay. So for every I that this iterator will yield, you check this condition, and if this condition holds, then only you will add this value, or you will not add the value. Okay. So we check here for every fruit in fruits. If A is in the fruit, you add fruit dot upper. So you don't need to just add this value. You can do something with it. Like in the last example, we squared it. Here we are just using the dot upper on it. So now you see we got the exact same output. But this code is a lot more Pythonic than this code. Okay, so that's what Pythonic means. So let us move to another example. Here we only have a if condition. What if we wanted an else condition? So if else. So you might think, let's just add else here, but that does not work. You have to recall something that you studied previously in this lecture itself. You used the ternary operator. So for the ternary operator, what you could do is, suppose you wanted to replace guava with apple. So if the fruit is apple, you want guava instead, but if it's any other fruit, you'll take it. Okay. So we check for every fruit in fruits. If the fruit is apple, you append guava in the new list. But if it is any other fruit, you append the fruit itself. Okay. And this is what you get. Okay. In place of apple, you got guava, and the rest of the fruits are the same. But how do you use list comprehensions to do this? So doing this with list comprehension is something like this. This is a ternary operator. Okay. So let's take this. I set fruit equals apple. Okay. And then what I want to do is guava. If this, I want to check if my fruit equal apple, then my return value should be guava. But if it's not, it should be the fruit itself. Okay. So let me check this. So in this case, my fruit was apple, so it worked out. But suppose my fruit is kiwi, then I get kiwi. I don't get guava. So this is our ternary operator. Okay. So using a ternary operator, we gave it the condition that for every fruit in fruits, you substitute this value, whatever the ternary operator will yield on this particular fruit. Okay. So on the left side of this for, you can have anything that uses fruit and some other variables that were previously defined. Okay. But you have to use this. Not that you have to use this. Suppose you just wanted, say, 10 times I. So you could do something like this. Okay, 10 times 1. Suppose you wanted 1. So you could do 1 for I in range 10. Okay, so this will give you 10 ones. But what is an even more Pythonic way to do this? You can just say 1 times 10. Okay, I don't think this was covered before. So do pay attention. You can do something like this too to get a list of 10 ones. Like if you want to repeat a value, just multiply it. This again works with this also. Suppose you wanted A 10 times. This works with strings. So you get 10 A's side by side. Okay. So that is how if else works with list comprehensions. Now let's see if we can do the same thing with dictionary comprehensions. So what dictionary comprehensions do is they work very similar to list comprehensions. Let's start by looking at an example. What do we want? We want to store a list of squares, but we want to access them using the key itself. Okay. So I want a dictionary where if I ask for a square, like I say squares of I, where I is some number, I should get I square as a return. Okay. So I save it as a key. So for I in range 10, I will do, okay, so first 10 natural numbers, right? So it will be 1 to 11. Sorry about that. So I do that. I get a square. That 10 square is 100, 9 square is 81. I would do the same thing with dictionary comprehensions by doing something like this. Okay. So I say exactly as I said for lists that for I in range 10, you do this. So you see when dictionaries are printed, they are printed like this. On the left side of the colon is the key, and on the right side of the colon is the value. So that's exactly what you do. You use curly braces to tell Python that whatever you are defining here needs to be a dictionary. Okay. And then you tell Python that whatever the value is, the key is this, and the value of that would be this. So if I do this, then dictionary comprehensions, like I get the same dictionary with dictionary comprehension. So let me do this again. Yeah. So the exact same thing, but then again, this way is a lot more Pythonic than whatever the previous version was. Okay. So that is comprehension. That's pretty much it. Before we move on to sets, I want to ask if there are any doubts. Dikshan? Am I still connected? Hello?
Sure, you can go on. Like there's no doubt.
Okay, fine. Okay, so now that we have covered list and dictionary comprehensions, let's move on to sets. So we have studied about lists, tuples, and dictionaries. So these are the four, like three of the four built-in data types in Python to store collections of data. Okay, so what is the fourth one? The fourth one is sets. So set is an unordered collection. We'll see exactly why it's called unordered, because like the order in which you insert elements in the set does not matter, and it is iterable, like Aryan previously mentioned. It is mutable, as in you can add elements to the set and you can remove elements from the set. But what happens is in the list, you cannot change, like you can change the elements of the list, like at a particular index, you can just change the value. But in sets, you cannot do that. Okay. So once you add something in the set, either you can add something or remove something, but you cannot change something inside the set. Okay. So why are sets used? Like why were they even created? So what sets do is the major advantage of a set as opposed to a list is that it has a highly optimized method for checking if something is in that. So if you just want to check if a particular element is in a list, you'll have to go through the entire list one by one and match it with every element and see if it's there. But for set works on something, a principle called hash table. If you have taken data structures and algorithms class before, you know what hash tables are. If you don't, no need to worry. It does not matter. You don't need to understand that to understand sets. But the speed comes from the principle of hash tables. Okay. So that's why we use them. And since the sets are unordered, we cannot access items using indexes. Okay. So they're unordered. So you can't say that give me the item at element like index 0 or index 1. Okay. So you cannot pick like that. So let us see what sets are. So this is an example of a set. You also define sets with braces, but here you see there are no key value pairs. If I did something like this for every value, then this would become a dictionary. But if I just give it a list of values, then it's a set. Like Python interprets it as a set. So what I do first is I define a set of these four numbers. Yeah, is it out?
No, you can go on.
So I defined a set of these four numbers. Now you see I put them in any order. I put them in 2, 5, 1, 3, 4. But Python has its own way of ordering elements, and in this case for numbers, it is just in an ascending order. So Python stores it as such 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when I print the set, it comes like this. Now what happens? I want to add something. Okay. Now I've chosen to add a string to it, not a number, because I just want to show you that just like in list, sets can contain elements of different data types too. Like data types do not matter. So if I do that, now you can see that this high was added in my set. Okay. So that's pretty much how adding new things into the set works. There's a lot you can do with sets, but we are only introducing sets because like it can get like you can have a completely like 1 hour long session on just sets. Okay. So this is something that I use sets for. Like I have used sets for a lot. Is like if I have a list of numbers. So these numbers you see there are a lot of duplicates. But what if you just want to know the unique numbers? So what I will do is I will pass the list to a set constructor. Okay. So once I pass the list to a set constructor and then I print it, you see that I directly get the unique elements. Okay. I directly get all the unique elements. The order does not matter because see, my first element was 1, next was 4, but in my set, the next element is 2, which came later in this list. Okay. But at least by looking at the set, I know the unique elements which are in my set. Okay. So say if I order like add a few more ones here, it's not gonna matter because set cannot hold duplicate elements. So I will still get this exact same value. Now, what if I wanted a list instead? Like I have a set, but as I said before, you cannot index sets. Okay, but suppose I need to index it. So what I can do is I can pass it again, like I can give it in a list constructor again. Okay, I can just pass the set in a list constructor and that will make it a list. So let me just print this. You see that just before this line was executed, this was a set, but now I've made it a list by doing this basically. List of set. I pass a set inside the list constructor and it makes a list out of it. Okay. So that is it for the sets part. So before we go on to another small topic that I have picked out. I just want to tell you one more thing about sets. So we have covered list comprehensions, we have covered dictionary comprehensions about sets. So the Python set class represents the mathematical notion of a set. Okay, so this is not all you can do with a set, like add, remove, and then find unique numbers. You can also take union of two sets. You can take intersection of two sets. You can also different sets. So like have two sets and then take one set away from the other set. So if there are any common elements, you can just remove them. And you can also take a symmetric difference. Plus a lot of other stuff, but these are the four basic operations. So sets are powerful basically. So if you ever need to do something like this, sets are the objects you should use. Okay, so I will leave it up to you to explore sets more on your own, and I've added a link here that will tell you almost everything there is to know about sets. Okay, so now let's look at some more magic with strings. Okay, so strings also can be indexed and sliced just like lists. Okay, so you can index it and also slice it just the way you do with lists. So let's take a string hello world. Okay, this is the string. Now you can see the index 0 talks about hello, 1 is e. So this is a list of length 13. So the index go from 0 to 12. Okay, that's how the indices go from 0 to 12. So if you call, say, suppose the name of the string is text, and if you do text square bracket 8, so you will get O. Okay, so if you specify an index, you get the character at that position. If you specify a range, just like we do, so let's look at that. Let me just oh, by the way, like even if you close the notebook in Jupyter, it keeps running. So if you want to shut it down, you just shut down the kernel, and now it stopped running. So let's go to the next one. Okay, so we have looked at all of this. So yeah, we have a string here. Now we want to look at the fifth character. So if you want to look at the fifth character, that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Oh, okay. So for the fifth character, I will pass in the index 4 because indices start from 0. So I get the letter O. What else I can do? Just like list, I can use negative. So the negative will start counting from the back. So this is the first character, second character, third character. So I should get L, which is exactly what I get. Exactly same as list. So I'll not be spending a lot more time on this. Just giving you a quick example. Exactly same you can do with slicing. So you take from the first index up to the fifth index. Stop just below the sixth index. So this is the sixth index. So we stop just here. So we get LO. And then what else do we have? Oh yeah, if you want the first 5 characters of any string, you can just index it like this and you get hello. What if you want the last 6? The last 6 is -6 to end. Okay, then you again get world. Now, what if you wanted to skip characters, just like we did in strings? So for slicing, this tells it to take from the 0th character to the 5th character and skip 2 characters. So take every second character. Okay, so this gives you hello. So 1 to 5 is this, but you take every other character. So you take H, you skip E, you take L, you skip the second L, and then you take O. So you get hello. Just a quick reminder, when you have 0, you don't need to actually pass it. This will work if you just skip this index, because Python will interpret that like you mean that start from the beginning. Okay. So now that we have covered list slicing and indexing, let's look at putting strings inside other strings. So suppose you wanted to concatenate two strings. We have seen this before, but let's cover it a little more formally. So you can use the plus operator. So suppose my name is this, my age is this, and I wanted to concatenate like this. So hello, my name is, then add Shubham here, and then the rest of my sentence, add my age here, and then add this. Okay. So now let me just execute this. So this is exactly what I expected it to print. Now, one thing you need to notice, I pass name as it is here. But if I pass age, it won't work because you can only concatenate strings, not integers. So what I had to do is I had to pass it in the string constructor. So just like we saw list and set constructors, we have a string constructor. Okay. And just like that, we also have like int constructors, float constructors, but here we need to convert it to string. So I pass it in the string constructor. Okay. So now we know a better way of doing this task. So what we do is we use f strings like seen in the previous class. Okay, f strings are always a better way to do this. Just use f strings. Now, just because I talked about the string constructor, let me show that if I make a list of numbers and then I do string of a, because this is a list, how can you convert it into a string? So it exactly takes this as a string. Okay. So the entire list, however it's represented in Python, that becomes a string now. Okay, as text. So that's how string constructors work on lists or even sets. So let me do it for a set and then we'll move on. Just like that. Okay, so we have seen putting strings inside other strings, and I've also shown that this is not the way to do this. This was a way just to demonstrate concatenation, but this is the right Pythonic way to do this. Okay, use f strings. Now, let's look at some more useful string methods, and then we'll end the session. Okay, so there is a method called start, like there are two methods, starts with and ends with. So starts with, what it will do? It will return true or false. True if a string starts with whatever value you're passing inside starts with, and the ends with will return true only if the sentence or the string that you're passing in will end with it. Okay, so let's just look at an example. So I call it on hello world. So this is my actual text or sentence, and I want to check if this sentence will start with hello. So like we mentioned in the previous lecture, Python is very readable. So if you just read this code itself, it's not very hard to understand what it's doing. You are calling starts with on the string. So you're just checking if this sentence starts with this sentence, this string. Okay, this string starts with this string. So here it does start with it. So we expect a true. So that is fine. Now you know that this ends with world, and that's exactly what you are checking. So this one should also be true. Now let us see some other examples. So we have ABC123, and we want to check if it starts with ABCDEF. It starts with ABC, but not DEF. So what do we expect? We expect this to return false, which is exactly what we'll do. Okay. Now again, we can do the same with ends with. So this is also expected to return false since it ends with 1, 2, 3, not just 1, 2. Okay. So now what will happen if you pass the entire string to check if it starts with that? Now if it's entire, it obviously starts with that, right? Because it's like the entire string. And similarly, ends with will also return true for this exact thing, because if a string starts with something, it also ends with it, because if you're checking with the entire string itself. Okay, so I'll just leave this here for a second, absorb what is happening, and then I'll discuss a couple more methods, and then we'll end. Okay, so I assume this is fine, and then I go forward. So join and split methods. These methods are something that you will use in your everyday Python coding. Very important. So let's just look, especially split. Okay. So join method, what it does is it joins all the values of string, like a list. You give it a list of strings, and what it will do is it will just join them with whatever value you give it. So suppose I have a list pizza, lasagna, burrito. Okay. And I want to join them to make a single string and separate each of these elements with a comma and a space. So that is exactly what I get. I get pizza. So Python puts pizza here, then it puts this string after this. Then it puts the second element, then the separator, then this is. So what this is the separator, and then you join using this separator every element of this iterable. Okay. You can even pass a tuple here. So let me quickly make this into a tuple, just to demonstrate that this works with tuples too. So I passed the tuple, and I had the exact same output. Okay. So this is just to demonstrate that you can use it on any iterable, not just list, but generally used with list. Yeah. So now that we have that, let's see some other things. So suppose you wanted to join it with space. So then just give a space. No need to put that extra comma. So I wanted to join elements of the string. My name is Shubham, to make the sentence my name is Shubham. Okay. So I do this. Now, what if I wanted to join it to something arbitrary? Okay. So I chose this random string, and I'm joining every element with this random string. Okay. So this is just to demonstrate that whatever we are passing here is just the separator. Okay. So I hope join is pretty clear, like it's fairly intuitive. So I'll move on to split. Split is very important, especially when you are trying to take input from the user. Split is something you will use a lot, especially if you are trying to read in lists of numbers. Okay, so yeah, so split method does the opposite. Like instead of joining, it will split a big string. So earlier what I had is, I had this, right? I had my name is Shubham, like I had this list and I had to get this sentence. What if I have this sentence now? I want to go back to the list. I will use split. Okay. So what split does is, by default, it will find spaces and it will split it using spaces. So spaces are the separator for it. Okay, by default. But you can also define custom separators to split by. Okay. So suppose I wanted to split using comma spaces, like a space after a comma. So what it does is, it looks at this. So it will split pizza and lasagna, and it will look at this. It will split lasagna and burrito. Okay. So you get this. So we got all our strings back. Exactly same with the third string I did, the arbitrary separator. So I will split it using that. So I split it and I got this list. Okay. So I hope you got all of that. Do I have something else? Let me check. Oh yeah. So generally, what you do is you use split a lot when you're reading in input from files. We'll teach you in maybe the next session or the next to next session how to actually take inputs in files and how to save the output to files. So when you're taking in input from files, you probably have like long pieces of text. Okay, so multi-line. But what you want is, you want to parse it line by line. You want to just look at a line at a time. So what you can do is, I have a multi-line string here. Dear diary, I'm attending the PyCK course. I never knew Python was so awesome. Oh, I might be falling in love. Okay, help me. So I have this text. What I'll do is, I want to split it using the new line character, because after every line, I have a new line character. So let's just see how this string looks. Okay. Like I mentioned in the previous session, multi-line strings, if you look at them, Python reads them like this only. So here is a new line character when I went to the new line. Here is a new line character when I went to this new line. So what will happen is, let me print it and show that this is exactly the same thing I defined above. Okay. So if I split it using the new line character, so text dot split and just give it the new line character, you'll see that every element of the string, every element of this list is a line. Okay. Let me just print it so it looks more like a list. Okay. So this is the first line. This is the second line. So I can just save this in a variable, lines equals this. Okay. And then I can just do. Now I want to look at the third line. So I will just do lines two. Okay, hold on. Something happened. Name error lines is not defined. Oh, sorry. This is print.
Shubham, just am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah, Shubham, we should end really soon, so that we can explain the tutorial.
I am
properly.
done.
Okay.
I am done. This is the last three functions. This is what you do when you want to eliminate white space from your strings. Okay. So I have taken the string hello world, which has two extra spaces. Okay. So strip method, what it will do is, it will strip the spaces from both the beginning and the end. And L strip, just like the name sounds, will only remove spaces from the left, and right strip will only remove spaces from the right. Okay. So let me just quickly demonstrate this. Okay. I do strip. Now you see those extra spaces have gone. Okay. So this is how text would look. Now extra spaces have gone. And if I do else strip, only the left spaces have gone, but the right spaces remain. Okay. And if I do R strip, only the right spaces are gone and the left spaces remain. So that is all I have. I guess you can read this on your own. I'll not do the demonstration. This is very simple. So this part I will leave. You can just go through this part here. It's only this much. Okay. Go through this part on your own. Figure out how to convert from the strings, like a specific character, to their numeric value. Okay. And also, I want to point out that there are a lot more useful string methods that we are not covering in this session, because in this session, we just want to make you comfortable with Python and comfortable to look up your own resources so that you can work with Python on your own. So I will highly recommend that you go through this chapter, manipulating strings, of automate the boring stuff with Python book. So if you just click on this link, it will take you to a page where the online book is present. Okay, do go through this chapter, look at a lot more functions that you could use, and I have not covered it in this session. Okay. And another thing, after today's class, you can try and succeed at most of the easy and medium level problems in HackerRank. Okay. Some of those problems might require some libraries that you can look up and learn by yourself, but do try. Go into the Python section in HackerRank and do try solving these problems. Okay. So that brings us to the end of this session. I'll just stop sharing my screen. Are there any doubts?
Shubham, actually there aren't, but we should explain the tutorial problems once very quickly.
Okay, Aaron, can you take over? I don't have the link.
We are actually providing the link tomorrow, so we just give them a brief about what it is. So I can take over. I can take over for sure instead. So guys, the tutorial is such that we'll be giving you one notebook. Okay, you just have to fill in the notebook with some of your own answers. Okay, it's not very difficult. What we expect you to do is write good code, write good Pythonic code and finish it off. Okay, and come to the tutorial session on Saturday. We'll try to go over our code and show you the sort of good Pythonic way to do it, and we'll discuss it in batches. You have not got tutorial batches yet. We will make them today night and post it by tomorrow morning along with the tutorials. The problem was that we are still getting registrations. We're trying to close them, and I think we'll close them tonight at 12, right? And after that, we'll give you everything. Okay, don't worry. You can leave, enjoy your day and night, and we'll be in touch. You'll be added to a channel of your batch soon, right?